Blugoblin here. Thank you for joining me for my comic book review for the last week of September 2011. Thanks for watching, everybody. Before I get started, I want to say hello to my student. Give a shout out to TheMtVernonKid. Just saw his, about a couple nights ago, I saw his latest, his last comic book review that he did. I got to say, Chris, over 40 minutes. Very impressive. You did it in one take. I'm impressed. I just, part of me feels like, I wish that I was as much into Marvel as you are, because Marvel's been really letting me down here lately, with some few exceptions. I also want to give a shout out to another Chris, the Jedi Path Packer Smacker here on YouTube, and he's the Jedi Path on Tumblr. Check him out. He's a newbie for comic book reviews. I think he does a great job too. Give him a try. He's wanting to get in on doing these kinds of reviews on YouTube, and I think he deserves some subscribers. So give him a try. As always, I'll have a link in the description. And I also got recently caught up on some books that I had missed, and I've already got my review of Teen Titans #1 posted on my Tumblr account. Be sure to check that out and tell me what you think. My next written reviews that I've got planned are for the latest issues of FF, X-Men Legacy. I also want to do written reviews for Nightwing #1 and Wonder Woman #1. So be sure to check out. Be sure to stay tuned for those. I got 8 books to review here on video, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the pick of the week. Pick of the week this week is The Amazing Spider-Man number 670. Hell, that cover alone is awesome enough to make this book the pick of the week. Right from the beginning, when Spider Island, the concept of it was first announced, people in Manhattan and in New York are going to get Spider-Man powers. I called it. I said, J. Jonah Jameson's going to get spider powers. That was the moment I was waiting for. That was my most anticipated moment of this entire story, and it did not disappoint me. I got to agree with a couple of the reviewers on the internet where you could actually, if you read it well enough, you can actually hear J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah when you read this dialogue. It's fantastic. Dan Slott is no slouch. He's probably the best Spider-Man writer we've got in this day and age. Humberto Ramos, his artwork, it's okay in some panels. I'll get in that. At times it can be a little bit too cartoony, but his art style for this kind of story works. I loved how the story panned out. It's getting more and more serious. It's not all about, oh boy, everybody's got spider powers, yippee, yippee, yippee. It's not all about that anymore. Now this shit's hitting the fan and it's getting serious, and I'm loving it. And we get a new superheroine, stepping in and doing her part to help Peter, and all I could say is it's about damn time. And I think you know who I'm talking about. I would like to call her the Red Spider. Giggity giggity. But yeah, it's really amazing work from Dan Slott. Very, very well done. And I gotta say, the cliffhanger at the end, wow, just wow. I can't wait to see how this story progresses. I'm already anxious for the conclusion. I'm expecting a win here. Although Marvel with Spider-Man has let me down before, I myself am expecting a win at the conclusion of the story. Do yourselves a favor. Pick up this issue of Spider Island. Spider Island Part 4. Amazing Spider-Man number 670. My pick of the week. Alright. Next up, Tarot, Witch of the Black Rose, number 70. Okay, this book I'm going to have to spoil because not a lot of people, but I've gotten a few personal messages asking me, why do I spoil Tarot almost every time I review it? And there's a simple answer to that. I feel like I kind of have to spoil the issues to prove to people that I actually do read the stories. I'm not one of those fanboys who buys this series and just sits here and just gawks at all the big boobies. Of course they're really pleasant to look at, but the storytelling is really good as well. Giggity giggity. We got Tarot going into this temple or a church for the mer people, and right off the bat it starts to siphon her powers, her magic ability, her witching powers. She no longer can fly, she can't cast magic spells, and all she's relying on now is her fighting skills and her sword. That's literally all she has to defend herself against this priestess or guardian of the church who believes Tarot is there to pilfer or do wrong to the church. Tarot tries her best to convince this defender that she's here to worship, and unfortunately it doesn't go well for Tarot. I mean, Tarot gets defeated in the fight, but she doesn't get killed. Instead, she gets, she decides to torture Tarot by leaving her to the sea and seeing. She decides to put Tarot to the test, see if the open sea will deem her worthy to live or not. And that's the explanation to the cover. That's her torture. She's tied naked she's tied up, stripped, and left to just dangle in the sea while a bunch of crabs start pinching her, and one of them pinches her nipple so hard it cuts it open, and then there's another crab that pinches her head. And then we get a dun 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 kind of cliffhanger, and this is a pretty impressive issue for Tarot. I mean, it's a pretty impressive fight scene between Tarot and the defender of the Mer People's Church. It's an impressive fight scene based on a book like this, and Jim Ballant really knows how to write a story. He's a bit, I think in my opinion, he could be a little bit underrated as a writer. Of course, he's well credited for his artwork, but it's more than just the artwork and the beautiful boobies that sell the story. It's really well done. It's like I said, it's a mature comic book, but it's mature because of gratuitous nudity. There's no excessive cussing or swearing. It's just got naked girls in it, but it's fun. It's really good. I like it. Giggity. All right. Next up, The Flash, number 1. Okay, let me go ahead and get my nitpick out of the way. I don't like the fact that Barry Allen and Iris West are no longer together. There, I got that out. Now that I got that out of the way, let me focus on how good this issue was. Now, before I even got finished reading this book, my initial reaction was to think that this was just going to be okay. Because I had already heard about, Barry and Iris's breakup because of this relaunch. I was going to be under the impression that this was just going to be okay, and boy was I wrong. This was better than okay. This was pretty damn good. I'll agree with my old buddy Mark Corum TV. Subscribe. You're welcome, Mark. I even got to agree with him. This was better than the Jeff Johns run, and Jeff Johns, he's one of my favorite writers, but I got to agree with Mark. Jeff Johns didn't really do that tremendously well on The Flash, and this was even better than his stuff. Francis Manapul does an impressive job with the writing, and I actually like the way Barry becomes the Flash in this new 52 universe. With the it's kind of reminiscent of an old Power Ranger morphing style. It's kind of got that element to it, but it still looks original at the same time. I don't know if that makes any sense to you or not, but it works. It's really good. The character development for Barry Allen is still perfectly intact. It's very well put together. All I can say is jump on, if you dropped Jeff Johns' run of the Flash, do yourselves a favor, pick the Flash back up. This is impressive. This is one of those times where I'm glad that I was wrong. This was not just okay, it was really good. Alright, prepare yourselves. Here we go. Superman #1. Yeah, this is No Mirage. I actually bought Superman. I am willing to give the Man of Steel a try. This is probably, with the exception of the Project Superman thing with Flashpoint, this is probably the first time I've actually bought an actual Superman title since perhaps Reign of the Superman. I've got the death of Clark Kent, his Reign of the Superman style. I think this is probably the first time I've bought a Superman title since then. I picked up. I will try to get a hold of Action Comics and see if I like that as well. I don't have it right now, but I'll try and look for it, and I'll see if I like it or not. But right now I want to focus on this Superman. I gotta say, I like the cover. I didn't really appreciate TMZ making fun of his crotch on their show, but George Perez was the reason why I was wanting to try this, because George Perez, one of my favorite artists of all time. I was really disappointed when I found out that George Perez mainly does just the cover and he does the breakdowns of the interior art. It's Jesus Marino. Hope I pronounced that name right. It's him that does the interior artwork, and hey, I will admit the artwork is great. Now let me focus on the storytelling from George Perez, because he wrote this. Wow, I got to agree with some of the other reviewers, whereas Superman actually, and Clark Kent, he actually looks more human. He actually looks more respectable as a, as far as character connectivity to the readers is concerned. He looks more sympathetic. Now, don't get me wrong, this book is a little bit on the heavy dialogue side, but it's good. It's fun. Lois Lane probably shines better than even better than Superman in this. I mean, but that's a good thing. Lois Lane is done very, very well. I mean, anybody who's been disappointed by all these past issues of the new DC universe, where most of the women are just overly sexual and just look like bimbos, get a look at Lois Lane in this book, and then you'll probably change your mind. Lois Lane is true to character. She's a highly intelligent woman. We all know how she is, but now that she's running the Daily Planet, or one of the people who runs the Daily Planet, she's doing her job so remarkably well. She even stated, minor spoiler here, that in the past and now she is willing to risk her own life to get a good story, but she will not be held responsible for risking anybody else's life, and that was really respectable. My respect for Lois Lane went up after reading this issue, and we get kind of a disappointing ending, but it's disappointing in a good way, because it makes Clark Kent the character. Clark Kent makes him look more human when he decides to, secretly eavesdrop on Lois and her friend Jonathan Carroll's, romantic celebration. And it's a small little wink and nod as to say, yeah, Lois and Clark, they're just friends. They were not only never married, but and according to this, they never even dated at all. So I can live with that. Lois and Clark were not my all-time favorite comic book couple, and it is sad to see them go, but I'm actually on board with this new Superman. I'll be willing to give him a try. It's actually pretty good. I was actually impressed with that. Alright, next up, Green Lantern New Guardians #1. I'll go so far as to say I liked this better than Green Lantern Corps. Tony Bedard, Tyler Kirkham, great job from you guys. Wow. This right here focuses mainly on Kyle Rayner, and it's kind of like a retelling of Kyle Rayner's origin as to how he became a Green Lantern, and that's fine. It's a relaunch. That's perfectly fine. Good storytelling here. I love the dialogue from Kyle Rayner. The quips, and sometimes he's not exactly serious. But what I don't like, and once again I'm agreeing with Mark here, it is bullshit that DC is still portraying Kyle Rayner, a character with such longevity in the DC universe as a Green Lantern. He's still portrayed as kind of like this rookie kind of character. And I don't like that, but he is a good Green Lantern. He's not my favorite. My favorites are still Hal Jordan and Kilowog. I don't know how many times I've said that, but he is portrayed very well. The dialogue's good. The writing is really good. Yeah, I'd say if you're a Green Lantern fan, and if you want to fill the hole that was opened up when we lost Emerald Warriors, fill it back up with New Guardians. This was really good. I was very impressed. I liked it better than Green Lantern Corps. I'm on board. This is going on my pull list. Alright, next up. Hold on. Let me check my lips. I want to make sure they're not chapped because I'm about to kiss Gail Simone's ass. Alright. Here we go. Fury of Firestorm, #1. This was another title I was really looking forward to. Yep, they're not chapped. I can kiss Gail Simone's ass now. Now, Ethan Van Sciver and Gail Simone are credited as the co-plotters, but Gail Simone was credited as the sole writer of this book, and it's very easy to tell. This has got Gail Simone's fingerprints all over it. The artwork is incredible. I love that cover. That is probably one of my favorite covers out of all these #1s that has hit. I was a fan of Firestorm when I was a kid, and my fanship for him has gone back up. And this is probably... Now, somebody mentioned this to me earlier today about that strange cloaked figure that's kept on popping up in the 52s, in the issue 1s in here, and this is one of the... I think this is the only... I'm pretty sure. I'll have to go back and check all these #1s that I have, but I'll have to check. This is... I think so far as I know, this is probably the only issue #1 that I have read that I don't see that cloaked figure in. I don't know if that's on purpose or if that's an accident by DC, but who cares? I just love the story. Very good. Character development is very, very well done. I will admit it started off a bit slow, but it picked up beautifully. Great backgrounds, great everything. The artwork's very well done. I mean, I even said on Twitter that Gail Simone could write an ad in a phone book, and I would fucking love it. The last half of the book really spiked up with some good action. Love the reveals of the nuclear men, and woo, the last page, woo, nice. This is good. Yep. I did some pretty good ass kissing there, didn't I, Gail? Very good stuff from you, though. Fury of Firestorm, the Nuclear Men, #1. Put that on your pull list, because I damn sure am. Alright. This next book almost made Pick of the Week. Almost. But not quite. Aquaman, #1, written by Jeff Johns, art by Ivan Reyes. Wow. This was another book I was really ready for. I almost put this one on a pedestal. And thankfully I did, because this lived up to my expectations. Hell, it surpassed my expectations. This was incredible. This is kind of like, to all the fans and people who think they know everything about comic books. This is kind of like one of these to all those fans who mocked Aquaman. Say, oh, Aquaman's stupid. He only talks to fish. You suck. It's like, I think the best parody of Aquaman was Raj on The Big Bang Theory, dressed up like Aquaman. But yeah, this is a huge wake up call to anybody who just figuratively pissed all over Aquaman, and wow, very, very impressive. Learned some very good things about Aquaman. You can just tell in the artwork and the body language of Aquaman as he deals with some minor criminals and everything, and woo, just impressive all around. The scene in the seafood restaurant with Aquaman, that was priceless. I loved it. I love how they're displaying with art his relationship with Mera, and you can just tell by the artwork, the beautiful artwork, how much they're in love and how much they're willing to be with each other, no matter what decisions they make. That's beautifully well done. This is awesome. This is perhaps one of the best titles I've read out of this new 52 so far. This was very, very damn close to being pick of the week, but Spider-Man beat it out. This was really good. Put Aquaman on your pull list and get ready to believe again. Aquaman ain't no joke. Now, we're going to end this not exactly with what I would call controversy, but this book has got a lot of attention, but in a negative way. A lot of people on the internet have seemed to have been having problems with this, and I can certainly understand why, but let me explain how I feel about this book, okay? Let's end this with KickAss 2, Issue 4. Okay, it's all over the internet, so I'm sure everybody knows that the former Red Mist, now calling himself the Motherfucker, is, figuratively living up to his new name. And yeah, now this is a Mark Millar title. Anybody who read the first KickAss or has been reading KickAss or reading stuff like Nemesis and Wolverine Old Man Logan should know this. Quite a few times in his career, Mark Millar has gone for shock value. You should have probably have expected that. Now, it's painfully obvious that Millar was going for shock value in this book, and he succeeded. He shocked me. But, yeah, I was a bit disturbed by it, but I wasn't flat out disgusted. Now, let me explain why. I'm not a psychopath. I wasn't emotionally connected to this book. Yes, it did disturb me. But let me tell you why I think this issue worked. Because this was an awesome way to make the main villain, the Motherfucker, look, exactly like that. You wanna look at this guy and just hold this book firmly and just go, "You motherfucker." That's what Millar was going for, and he succeeded as far as I'm concerned. Now, the scene where he does what he does to the kids and what him and his cohorts do to Katie Dumas, yeah, that was the disturbing parts of this book, and I won't go into detail on that. Yeah, I gasped when he did what he did to the kids and to Katie. He did what he did to Katie just screw with KickAss, because he knew that KickAss's real identity, Dave, used to hang out with Katie, and he figured he could get to Dave by getting to Katie, and what they did to her. Oh my God. That was the most disturbing part of this book to me. That and what he did to the kids, and what he said after what he did to the kids. Yeah, I will admit I was disgusted, but let's think about this. This is not a tights and capes stereotypical superhero book. No. What this series is, and it was well explained in the first volume of KickAss, this is supposed to be a representation of what a superhero story would be if it was told in the real world. And as sad as what I'm about to say sounds, okay, what I'm about to say could disturb you. But shit like this sometimes does happen here in the real world. So it's certainly in as sick as that sounds, it does make sense, because shit like this does happen in the real world. But, you know, Millar was going for shock value that doesn't involve, you know, stereotypical dastardly deeds from a comic book supervillain. You know, nobody's kidnapping anybody for ransom. Nobody's saying, I'm going to take over the world, you know, and all that kind of bullshit. This is what a story would be. This is how a quote-unquote superhero story would be told in the real world, and it, as disturbing as it was, it does make sense. And John Romita Jr.'s artwork is always fun to look at, for me at least. The artwork that he does, especially for the Mother Russia parts, is very, very well done. But this is probably one of the most disturbing comic book books I've ever read. But I was disturbed, but at the same time, it worked for me. It made sense because of, you know, this whole real world concept of this actual series. So, you know, I'm not saying I support. Now, I am okay. Look, I'm not saying that I support writing like this, because I too was shocked and disturbed. But you got to think about it from that perspective. It's the real world. And in the real world, sometimes shit like this happens, okay? And all I can say, and with a full heart full of honesty, I have to say, if you can't take it, then just don't buy it. You know, I don't think anybody should start burning down their comic book stores because of how disturbing this is. I don't condone this kind. I don't say that this kind of writing should be done in every comic book, but, you know, just take it for what it is, look at it, and realize whether or not it makes sense because of the concept of it. You know, all I could say is I liked the book because it was disturbing, and it made sense because of the concept of it. Okay? But if you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. Nobody's twisting your arm to buy it. Okay? Just skip it if that kind of shit offends you. And I'm saying that politely. Alright, thanks for watching this review, everybody. Be sure to stick tuned for more. Be sure to subscribe. Follow me on Tumblr and on Twitter. That's all I got, so until next time, everybody, I'll see you later.